live from Exchange. Bar and grill, whiskey bar. This is Adolph Mongo. Welcome to Detroit in black and white. Allan Lengel
All right. Hey, morning. Good morning.
and Jim. What's your name?
All righty. Okay.
Okay, sitting in for Vanessa. Jim Nardone from the former police chief from Trenton. How you doing, Jim?
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
No question. Let's start right now. Outrage of the week, Allan.
All right. I've got a couple outrages, and they both have to do with anti-Semitism. One is in the state of Montana, where one of the lawmakers is actually a rabbi, and he was going to give the invocation one day. His name, last name Stefan. He was going to give the invocation, and without explanation, they removed it. Usually they have like a priest or somebody, and so the House Speaker Matt Rieger removed it without explanation. The Jewish community has demanded to know why, and the word is that because he's not a Christian or a conservative, they decided that he was not the right person to provide the invocation. The other thing is kind of an outrageous thing with Lauren Boebert. And as you can see in the Washington Post, they report that the White House decided to have an actual program to fight anti-Semitism. And Lauren Boebert has said, oh no, this is an attack on our base, on our conservative base, that, it's an attack on freedom of speech. And, we're going back to the 50s. I mean, we're seeing stuff with DeSantis, like trying to ban history, Black history. I thought we had progressed somewhat, but I think we've stepped back 30, 40 years. And I mean, the idiocy that we see here is just, it's just mind-boggling. I mean, to say, she's against any fight against anti-Semitism, and I'm assuming it's the same for racism, is that, it's freedom of speech. Well, yeah, you can say whatever the hell you want at home. You can say whatever the hell you want with your friends, but you can't publicly, fight and be an advocate for anti-Semitism and racism. And it's just total bullshit. It's amazing.
Well, Jim, your outrage of the week.
And that's the question of who do we elect? We need to be better at who we elect. I'm going to start with a tribute, if I may. On January 6th of 2022, last year, about 10 months ago, Officer Lauren Courts was killed, Detroit police officer, at the corner of Jola and Marlowe. Officer Courts was honored at the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial this last week. Officer Courts leaves behind his father and mother, Larry and Lillian, his bride, Christine, and Darian and Devin, his kids, 2 brothers and 2 sisters. So this leads to my outreach. We are all recognizing this hero. He's an American hero. He's a hero for the city of Detroit. However, Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib voted against I guess it's a proclamation, no money involved, at the U.S. Congress. It passed 413 to 2. Only 2 members of the U.S. Congress voted no. One of them was Rashida Tlaib. Lauren Courts lived in Southfield, represented by Rashida Tlaib. He lost his life in Detroit, represented in the congressional district of Rashida Tlaib.
Well, Rashida Tlaib is a fraud. It's somebody that I worked to try not to get her elected, and yet these people believe that Rashida Tlaib, when they elected her, that she was going to be the one.
That's the same as Lauren Warburg. Who are we
Yeah.
electing?
Well, we elect and do nothings because we in Detroit we got two Congress people. One came from Ann Arbor, bought his way to the state rep. The other one, I don't know where the hell she came from, but she's there, and her agenda is a Palestine agenda, and she represents the Arab community. That's fine, but you got a district that got some of the highest unemployment. School systems are shit. And she talking about I'm voting against a tribute. Now that's just a tribute,
Right.
for a fallen police officer in a district.
Right.
Well, shame on her.
You know what? It's some people become so imprisoned by their image, and her image is very like militant, lefty, which is fine. I thought it was great when she got into Congress because I thought the Palestinians needed some representation there. At the same time, as Adolph mentioned, I mean your district, you have to represent your district, and it's not you can represent like international concerns as well, but she's done nothing to help the Palestinian people. Like she's done a lot to promote herself as I'm uncompromising, I'm militant, but that doesn't, in the Middle East, there needs to be compromise for there to be progress. And, she has not taken the opportunity to really do much except to promote herself as this very militant person, which I'm sure people look at her and celebrate her for doing that. But she's not, if you go to the Gaza, you go to the West Bank, she's not doing anything to move things forward. And yes, there has to be compromise. I mean, when you have Hamas, when you have the Islamic Jihad, which is, really a surrogate of Iran, when they're uncompromising, when they say we cannot, our Constitution says we cannot recognize Israel, our mission is to the destruction of Israel. Well, that's great. I get it. And if I was Palestinian, I may feel the same way. But you know what? Israel's not going anywhere, at least for now.
And you have to. And she got to go.
You have to reach some compromise in it. But she is so imprisoned by her image, and the fact that she voted against the law enforcement thing is saying like, oh my God, that's like that's not good. It's like and the whole thing, the Black Lives Matter thing, which was fantastic, but saying let's get rid of defund the police is total bullshit. I mean, you and I are going to call the police when something happens, when we're being robbed.
No, we're not. We're not going to call the police.
We're going to call Rashida Tlaib.
Right. And that's the whole point.
1-800, call Rashida.
So she fucked up. And people should remember that. But, people don't remember that. But
and I want to clarify that I'm pro-Palestinian, but I'm also pro-Israel. And there has to be something worked out. It's not that both sides.
But Allan, I'm pro my district.
Yeah.
And if you elect somebody, they need to represent your district.
My district.
Well, she didn't represent my district because she didn't do shit when she was in the 13th. Now she's in the 14th. Okay, we move on. We here at McShane's. People, go ahead.
Larry Quartz gave 32 years to the city of Detroit as a police officer. His son gave his life for the city of Detroit. I'm not sure Rashida Tlaib understands.
Yeah, no, she don't understand. Now, I'm going to go to my outrage. My outrage is at the King Charles and his idiots over in England. The Ethiopian government for years have been begging the monarchy to return the body of one of their prince, Ali Yahoo, who they kidnapped in the 1860s when they invaded Ethiopia, killed his father. Mother died on the way to England, and he died at 18. They buried him in Windsor Castle. Well, you got a VIP burial. It was like a pet. They kept him. Now they won't give him up. The government for the last 60, 70 years asked the British, can we have the body back and we can give it the burial that it deserves? And the answer is no, no, no. Unbelievable. You take the diamonds, you take I mean physically, shouldn't they give up? Shouldn't they give the body back?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it shouldn't be an issue. Yeah.
But
I mean,
they don't want to give it up. It's like it's like it's like a tourist attraction, I guess.
Right.
Yeah, that's my outrage. Fuck you, King Charles. This is Detroit in black and white with Allan Lengel, and sitting in for Vanessa Moss, attorney Vanessa Moss, Jim Nardone. I'm messing with you, Jim.
I know you are. You never do that.
Nardone. How you doing? Thanks for being here. We're gonna take a break. Let's take a break, and then we'll come back and continue the conversation with our special guests.
I'm Wayne County Treasurer Eric Sabri. There are payment plans available to help save your property. Visit our website at treasurer.waynecounty.com or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com for further information. We're here to help.
All righty. Well,
we're back.
We are back.
Yeah, you're going to, the techno fest. I don't call it the techno fest.
The movement.
I don't call it the movement. The house music.
I'm not going to the movement, but it's interesting. I was at a dinner on last night, and behind the house there, they were blasting techno music, and apparently they had sold 300 tickets for music. They had
it used to be free.
Well, no, this is a private home just off of Mack Avenue in Midtown. They had sold 300 tickets.
You mean the cash quarter?
Yeah, the cash quarter. And so it's interesting. I was trying to figure out, if I were to do that, you sell 300 tickets, you sell for $100 each or something. You provide free beer and pizza, whatever. You spend 10 grand. You gross 30 grand. You spend 10 grand. You make $20,000 for the night. That's a pretty good deal. I think it's interesting. There are different businesses that have figured out ways how to make money off this whole movement.
But this shit was free. They got something like is something happening in Trenton with or is this just a Detroit thing? You right off the river in that park, and what concerts come that way?
Well, the Jazz Fest in August, which is a huge event, probably 15 or 20,000. In Trenton, and at the end of June, they have their summer festival, which brings in quite a few people.
Okay. Well, you know what? We got the Ombudsman here. Bruce, why don't you come on? Usually we get him on the screen, but we are lucky to have him here in person.
All right, Jim, you want to?
Yeah, why don't we let him sit here?
Okay, Bruce, good to see you, man.
You don't have to have that.
Good to see you, man.
Okay. Well, I know you are. How you doing, Bruce?
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
So,
Good to be here.
yeah, so what's happening in the Ombudsman office?
Man, we got a lot going on. Well, the weather is changing, which is a beautiful thing. That's going to allow us to go door to door, kick off our door to door effort, which we'll be doing this month coming up in June.
And what does that mean when you do a door to door?
Yeah, so
explain that.
Typically, if a citizen sees a city official at their door, they're asking for a vote. And there's nothing wrong with that. But we're not asking for a vote. We're showing up at your doorstep with information about our resources that you can utilize. So I like to describe this as a one-way transaction, meaning the only ask that we have is that you utilize the resource. That is the sole purpose of us showing up at your doorstep. And also, while we're in your neighborhood, we're taking those complaints. So we're not going to walk by a pile of trash or walk by open to trespass property without taking that complaint live in real time. Our staff will have tablets to take those complaints.
Those complaints can be anything from, hey, can people complain and say, hey, there's dope dealers standing at the corner here?
Do y'all take those kind of complaints?
Absolutely. If you have a complaint, we're happy to take it. Our focus, our slogan is improving your quality of life on a daily basis. So,
What about complaints against their city council people?
no,
You don't think
I
you
don't
can't?
take those. The charter prohibits me from taking any complaints about elected officials.
Okay, so they got to go to the elected officials. Is that what you tell people?
Well, when they have an issue that they think centers around an elected official, they need to file that complaint with our inspector general, our IG. Charter gives that person the ability to address elected officials.
And how do people get a hold of the IG? How do they?
They have their information listed online for sure.
It would be what, the Detroit Inspector General?
Correct. I'm sorry, I'm using acronym.
Yeah.
Detroit Inspector General.
Now, what areas do y'all pick and choose from? How do you pick and choose an area when you go door to door or whatever you're doing?
Yeah. So for me, it's just about there's really no rhyme or reason to it. One thing I try to do is make sure I do every district. The last thing I want to do is say that I didn't hit a district. So I'm intentionally picking a neighborhood within every district to try and hit all seven. We don't want to leave anyone out. So that's the only calculation.
Okay, well, next week you're going to be where?
Next week, next week I'm going to be in Mackinac for the policy conference. But when June starts, that's when we'll start going door to door.
Is the Mackinac? Let me focus on that. Isn't that a waste of time?
I don't think so. And
Okay.
I'm going to tell you why. For me personally, it's an opportunity for me to see some of my peers, people that I otherwise wouldn't see, try to figure out what's going on, especially in Lansing. What a lot of people don't realize that a lot of information is shared that you otherwise wouldn't receive. I would like to say, although I haven't been privy to some of it, my deals are struck, get a sense for what's coming. I think there's going to be some interesting announcements from what I hear up at Mackinac this year. Unfortunately, last year, as you all know, I was injured, so I couldn't go anywhere, and I missed it. But I think there'll be some interesting things.
You didn't make the playoffs, right? you tried to play the basketball. Okay, go ahead. Okay.
So we are actually right now going district to district, having satellite office hours. So we're setting up offices in every district. So we're utilizing either recreational centers or little coffee shops to come and bring the office to that particular community. So,
and how do people find out what the hours are and where the locations?
Absolutely. So if they access our Facebook or our Instagram, City of Detroit Ombudsman, all of that information will be there. Next up, we got June 5th, we'll be at Heilman Recreational Center, and June 28th, we'll be at Detroit SIP. So we're bouncing east to west. Every community we're trying to hit, we don't want to leave anyone out.
What do you see as the top when you go around and you've been in this for how long? How many years?
8 years.
No, well, I've been running the office for 7.5.
Okay.
The ombudsman, but being in that office in general, 16 years.
Wow.
16.
And so what are the top 5 complaints that people, the biggest concerns in the city of Detroit?
Yeah, so, you have, blight is still number one, even with close to 30,000 structures or whatever the number is. I think it's 30,000, something like that, over the past decade being demolished and raised. Blight is still number one. You have a lot of land bank concerns. Those concerns are going down to a certain degree.
Like what kind of concerns with the land bank?
Well, the land bank has a lot of property that's unwanted. It's difficult to maintain, blighted property. So those complaints will deal with the blight, being open to trespass, dilapidated structures, etc. And those properties are properties that are within our communities.
Okay, what other complaints?
They're drilling down their inventory, which I'm happy to see. So that means we're getting less of those complaints.
Right.
You have forestry concerns. That's something that we tackled this year as far as our recommendations are concerned. Trees have been an issue in the city for decades. We got a lot of disease, dead trees that need to be removed. And for the first time, the city of Detroit actually decided to assist with private tree removal. So if you have a dangerous private tree, this is the first time we've done this. It's always been a city-owned tree. And for those that are listening, a city-owned tree is typically identified as a tree that sits between your sidewalk and the street on the berm. And now they've dedicated a little over $8 million to handle private tree removal. So if you have a dangerous tree and it meets the criteria, we're dealing with that now.
When you talk about a dangerous tree, are we talking about trees falling on homes and cars and electrical wires?
Or disease trees.
Yeah, disease looks like it's going to fall. Unfortunately, we've seen people have their homeowners insurance canceled because of dangerous trees.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. And,
wow.
I don't believe they're legally supposed to do that, but an agent that comes out and he sees this tree over the house that he's supposed to insure, what do you think he's going to do?
Right.
So, what else do we have? Obviously, we always have water concerns.
How about crime? Do people complain to you about crime or police responses or EMS response times?
So typically, as it relates to the police department, we try to leave that to our police commission.
Uh-huh.
And if an officer themselves does something that is problematic in the eyes of a citizen, there's the office of the chief investigator for that. So OCI handles those complaints.
And so the city has, we always think of the city as having a bureaucracy and red tape and stuff like that. When someone complains to you, do you run into some of that red tape where you're like, hey, they call you up and say, hey, how come that thing is still not resolved? And you're like, well, I'm trying, but do you run into that kind of red tape?
You'll always run into that, but typically we're able to cut through. We call, they listen, fortunately, but I have had scenarios where you have different personalities running these departments. So depending on the individual, they may be very accommodating or not. And if it's the latter, then we take different measures.
Do you also get, do you get a sense of people are happy with the mayor, happy with the council, or do they complain a lot?
I don't think he's gonna get into criticizing. I understand that, but I can say that we got a council that continues to give away millions of dollars to the illegals and other billionaires, and they about to vote on a $80 million package of $40 million. What's a few billion? But anyway, go ahead.
I can't say it's on the policy side of things. I think there are some interesting things that are going to be done as pertains to tax. So I will tell people to.
But that's not. You know what? That's fine. But that's not helping the little person that's in the damn neighborhoods that don't have a supermarket, that don't have retail, that don't have any of that shit.
Property taxes, assessments, those are all things that I think are going to be addressed in the very near future.
All right, Henry, are we hearing Bruce okay? You're hearing fine? Okay. All right. We just
somebody said they can't hear.
Somebody said microphone, Bruce microphone.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we've got Dr. Pamela Pugh there, but she's still trying to figure out her video here.
Okay.
But so, have you enjoyed the job?
Yeah. Listen, I enjoyed it a lot. You can't do this job without enjoying it. The thing that I enjoy the most is that it's not supposed to be political. I don't care where you live. I don't care if you're a visitor, a businessman, a resident.
Right.
We're here to help you. So yeah, I enjoy it. When it works, it's a beautiful thing. We also always say you're not doing your job if you don't get cursed out at least once a week. This week was interesting in that we had a number of issues come to our doorstep in terms of just look, people are frustrated when they show up, and so it's understandable, but when they leave and I'm able to say that we resolved the issue or put them on a path to resolution, I'm extremely happy about that. So it's rewarding in many ways, thankless in some, but you don't do it for the thanks.
And you do it for it's a 10-year term.
It's a 10-year term, 7.5 years in.
Okay, so you got a ways to go. And I'm sure you don't want to talk about what comes after.
I always get that question. and the response is a genuine response when I say that whatever I do, it's going to be something that allows me to help people.
Well, I think I know what he's after. I thank you for coming on, Bruce, on Saturday. Glad to see you in person.
Absolutely. And if I can, I just want to give our telephone
Go
number,
ahead.
email address, so anyone who needs our services, they can reach us at 313-224-6000. That's 313-224-6000, or they can email us at ombudsman@detroit.mi.gov.
Oh,
Kenneth Reed says he's coming down to see Bruce. I have an issue.
okay. Kenneth Weed.
Kenneth Reed. So
Mr. Reed, I look forward to meeting you.
Okay.
all right.
Well,
So
Bruce
is always
Bruce Simpson,
open.
Detroit Ombudsman. You broke my finger, man.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
know.
Great seeing you, Bruce.
Well, anyway, thanks, Bruce.
Okay, man. Thanks.
Okay,
Thanks so
let's take a break.
All righty.
I'm Wayne County Treasurer Eric Sabri. There are payment plans available to help save your property. Visit our website at treasurer.waynecounty.com or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com for further information. We're here to help.
Okay, we are back.
Yeah, we at McShane's.
All right.
You hear people enjoying brunch
We are
here
ready.
at McShane's Bar and Whiskey. Jim Nardone, how you doing?
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so we want to bring these two.
Yeah, we're
gentlemen
gonna.
here?
Yeah,
You want me
Jim.
to? You want me to pop out, or I can ask.
I'll step out, Alan.
All right.
I'll
Doesn't
step
matter.
out. Eric and John from Victory Health Club.
All
Well,
right.
this is you know them. You work out at the
right.
health club. Move on down.
All right. We can bring in some more. Okay, and these guys are from the Victory Health Club in Downriver, which caters to veterans and first responders. Is that sort of the key there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I think we need to get this gentleman in the picture here a little bit more.
We just got to scoot you over a little.
Your arms
Yeah,
are
we
too
got to
big.
tighten it up.
Arms are too big.
All right.
One more.
Yep. All right. There
We
we
just got you really tight. Guys.
there we go. All right.
Love.
So tell us a little bit about your club, where it's located, what the mission, how long it's been around for.
So yeah, Victory Gym was started in 2015 by Mike Emery,
Okay.
who was a veteran, did multiple tours, and when he came back after his tour duty, he was medically discharged, primarily with the symptoms of PTSD, and he found that through physical fitness, it helped alleviate some of his PTSD symptoms, and he created Victory Gym. Unfortunately, he only was part of the gym for about a year or two, and since then we've had several folks run the operation, and Gary Clinton and myself, along with a great group of board members that help us to this day, have taken on the mission to fulfill his dream of conquering PTSD through physical fitness, peer support, and community involvement.
Okay.
And,
And how many members do you have over there?
totality, we probably have
We reached over 5,000 people.
5,000.
Oh wow,
So
that's amazing.
you know,
That's a
one of
lot
the
of.
things is we're trying to grow more. The more people we can touch, the more we can have more outreach.
Right.
We're working on other programs as well. Children in the area, not just veterans at this point. So
Right.
we're trying to touch as many lives.
And anyone can join, though. Is that correct?
Correct.
But your focus is on that. I see that you guys have a yoga classes and meditation, I assume, and all that. How normally I think for a long time I started doing yoga in the 80s, and people made fun of me and said, "Oh, you're going to yogurt class and all that," and then it became more mainstream, and suddenly it was in all the gyms and all that. Have people embraced that type? I mean, it's sort of a little bit non-traditional in terms of well-being, but have people embraced that?
They are, and it's one of those elements that we have. It's part of our gym, giving them something different, an option outside of just training. We do have PTSD meetings on Wednesday night at 7:00.
And what is that like? What does that entail?
You know, it's peer support, so it's all veterans. No civilians are allowed to attend. It gives our veteran community an opportunity to discuss some of the battles that they're challenged with. And, you know,
And is it like a therapy type of circle, or do people sit in rows of chairs and raise their hand, or how does that work?
Yeah, and during the winter months, we hold it inside the building behind locked doors. During the summer months, they take it outside, so they'll have a bonfire going. And, you know, again, civilian individuals are not privy to be a part of the group. So, you know, they discuss their issues. And, you know, that's one area that we really want to focus on, getting more veterans there.
And people are opening up in front of other people. And is there very emotional and crying and all that type? What we expect out of
there
therapy?
has been. You know, we as a matter of fact, we lost one of our veterans a month or two ago due to cancer, and he was instrumental in our PTSD meeting.
Okay.
And, you know, Gary and I, you know, Gary spent a lot of time with him, you know, visited him at the hospital. We helped him move some stuff out of his father's home who passed, you know, late last year. So, you know, we're more than just a gym. We get involved with the community. We put up ramps for veterans that are in wheelchairs.
Okay. And how is your fund? Your funding is through memberships or donations or everything? What?
You know, after COVID hit, it's been primarily through our membership, civilian membership. We've been doing a lot of fundraising events at the gym, wrestling events, comedy shows. June 17th, we have a bike run with Shielded Souls, another nonprofit organization, motorcycle group, to help raise money. Believe it or not, the UAW has offered a golf outing in August that
nice.
Proceeds will be going to Victory Gym. You know, at the end of the day, our goal and mission is to reduce 22 a day. For those that don't know, 22 veterans each and every day commit suicide.
I was going to ask you about the suicide issue. Is how do you deal with that with your members, and how does that?
You know, anytime, you know, there's been times where Gary's received calls 2-3 o'clock in the morning with a veteran that is struggling, and he'll spend time. I mean, he'll go and talk to them, meet them at their home. I mean, that's, you know, Eric and I, when we're in the gym, a veteran has issues, and, you know, we're in the middle of our workout and they want to talk, we stop, we give them full attention. One of the main things we want to do is to bring the civilian community, you know, together with our veterans, because they have been away for a while, and they've seen things that we don't see here today. You know,
do they feel they feel underappreciated or ignored, or what sort of?
I don't know if that's necessarily the case. I think more so it's reacclimating. It's really hard to reacclimate coming from a situation where you've got all this camaraderie, you have all this friendship, you have all this stuff going on.
Right.
And when you're relying on those people to basically have your back and save your life, and then you come home to normality, that's not your normal anymore. So it's part of the acclimation process, is getting them back into normal life, normal everyday life. So having the camaraderie that we have at the gym, having the ability to interact with other civilians, and then having, you know, still that brotherhood between, you know, anybody who's been in the service and all the others there, it's humongous.
And are you guys veterans, or what's your background?
I'm not either.
My father was, my grandfather and my uncles were.
Okay.
I when I moved back from Florida back in 2019, I wanted an old school gym. And somebody on Facebook recommended I go check out Victory Gym. And the day I walked into that building, I fell in love. You know, and that's
felt at home.
I did, and once I found out what it really meant, why that gym was created, I became more and more involved, because I have a passion for helping people. And especially those people, those men and women that have put their life on the line to protect my freedom.
Right.
It became heartfelt, and I just had to keep doing it.
And who owns the gym?
It's owned by the membership. We have a board that
So it's a
controls
nonprofit.
the-
It's a nonprofit.
yes.
Okay.
Fully 501c3
Can you tell us
nonprofit.
a little bit about the volunteers and how the gyms run? I think that's important that the people understand that.
Everything that we do at the gym is on a no-pay basis. You volunteer, you come in, which we do need more volunteers. We'll always need volunteers. Right? So if you're looking for something to do, you want to come out and help the community, help veterans, please come out and see us. But everybody works on no pay, including all the board members. Nobody takes it down. So somebody volunteers, if they volunteer 6 hours in a month calendar cycle, they get a free membership as a veteran or as a civilian.
I see.
So civilians are $20 if you don't do that. Students are $15. And veterans, first responders as well, are all for free.
No contracts.
No contract.
No contracts, and the equipment is all.
Everything's donated.
99% of it has been donated. We purchased recently a couple pieces of equipment.
And are people happy with the equipment that's there?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Everything in there is great. There's nothing that's in disrepair. If there's anything that's broken down,
You take care of it.
We have a gym manager who takes care of all that, and other supporting staff.
And I have one more quick question. Adolph, who is our host here, is a Marine Corps veteran. So how does he join? He lives in Detroit. So what would you encourage him to do if he was interested in the Victory Gym?
Come on down, see us. It's that simple. Tour the facility, just have a chat with us, and then when you come down, you follow over the paperwork. It just shows that you were a veteran with whatever you have. Right?
DD 214.
DD 214, or if you get some down.
And it's completely free. He doesn't have to pay for anything.
Free, doesn't pay for that.
Wow, that's awesome.
We
That's
also
great.
ask,
Great.
if you'd like to see more about us before coming down, visit Victory Gym VHC.org. And you
What is I saw the VHC. What is
Veteran
that?
Health Club.
Okay. Nice. Okay, well, it's great. Thanks a lot. I never heard of this before, and so it's great to appreciate what you guys are doing. So, all right, thanks so much. Appreciate it. We're going to take a little break now and a little commercial break.
I'm Wayne County Treasurer Eric Sabri. There are payment plans available to help save your property. Visit our website at treasurer.waynecounty.com or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com for further information. We're here to help.
Yeah. Okay. We are back. You know what? She was. Oh.
Do we have
No,
her
we
on?
don't. We don't. We had her. She was backstage. She was trying to figure out her microphone situation, but she is not. But I have an interesting question. Maybe we can all discuss this. We see like George. All these famous people in our lives: George Washington, Henry Ford. They all did great things, and yet, they also were not, George Washington was a slave owner.
Well, not only a slave owner, but they made him some false teeth. He had a problem with his mouth. They was pulling the teeth of slaves, taking the teeth and making his dentures. So I got a big problem with George Washington.
Yeah.
And Henry Ford. Do you stop buying? Now I'll ask you this question.
Well, I'll tell you, yeah.
I'll ask you this question.
Yeah.
Now we're on the air. Hitler made the Volkswagen. Him and Porsche. They now do you buy? Do you know any Jews that buy?
Oh yeah, Jews. There are some who don't care. Well, I'll tell you. Here's the situation. I mean, look, Henry Ford, one of the great industrialists. I mean, the Ford family, has done amazing things here in Detroit. Henry Ford Hospital, the Ford Foundation. They've done a lot of great stuff. But Henry Ford was also he was a friend of Hitler's.
Yeah.
He was a friend of Father Coughlin.
That's another fascist.
Yeah, he had an anti-Semitic newspaper out at Dearborn. So where does the history come in? We ran in Deadline Detroit. Bill McGraw was running the city magazine for the city of Dearborn, and he did a magnificent piece on Henry Ford and the anti-Semitic side. Well, they wouldn't run it. We ran it in Deadline Detroit. It became so controversial. The New York Times wrote about it and stuff like that. But the question is, it's funny. When I was 18 years old, and I was naive, and I thought, there's no anti-Semitism anymore. And my parents are Holocaust survivors. And I thought, yeah, that's, in the past, I bought a Volkswagen when I was 18. My sister was getting married at that time. She was 21. My uncle Eugene from New York came, my mother's brother. He had the tattoo on from Auschwitz, and he looked out the front window and he saw my red Volkswagen out there, and he goes, "Oh my God!" He goes, "Whose car is that?" And I go, "It's mine." And he goes, "Your parents let you buy that?" And my parents didn't say anything to me, but I became, when I went away to school, I started to experience anti-Semitism. People would say, "Oh, did you Jew him down?" I'd be like, "What? What do you mean?"
Well,
but
you bought a Volkswagen,
but I bought but a Ford.
But I buy Fords. Do you buy products that you deem to be bigoted or
I think we all
or
try
whatever?
not to. Well, you go back to 1941, the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, and the Japanese basically took over the automotive industry in the 80s, right? Peter Drucker, who's one of the greatest management, probably the father of modern management, left the United States, went to Japan.
You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna do a whole show on this, but we got
I want to say
our
something
guest.
real
Go
quick.
ahead,
I did not buy a Ford for forever. I do have a Ford right now, a Ford Escape, and it was in 2015 when Ford had a Jewish, CEO, Fields.
Well, I'm bought it for.
But I up until then I wouldn't buy a Ford even. So
Anyway, we got a state board of education member. Can we hear Dr. Pamela Pugh?
Hello. Can you all hear me?
I can't hear.
All right. Let's see.
Can you hear me?
Let's
Hello.
get it.
Hi.
Hello.
Can you hear us, Pamela?
I can hear you.
All right.
I can't.
Can you hear it?
I can't.
Can
Yes,
you hear
I
us?
can hear
Okay,
you.
we're having a little technical difficulty here.
Okay, let me.
All right.
Hello.
Dr. Pugh?
I can hear you.
Okay,
All
can
right.
you hear me?
Yep.
I can
She
hear you.
can.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. We got Dr. Pamela Pugh from the State Board of Education. How you doing?
I am doing well. You all can hear me now.
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, very good. Very good. I am doing well this morning.
You had a surprise announcement last week. What was it?
I did. I am running for the U.S. Senate here in Michigan. After much prayer, after much thought, talking to people across the state, we have entered the race for U.S. Senate. And hey, I am the only statewide elected candidate on the Democratic ticket, the only elected official that has been elected statewide 2 times across this state.
Okay. Let me ask. I have a question for you. Alyssa Slotkin, the Democratic Party has seemed to have chosen Alyssa Slotkin as the heir apparent in this. Do you feel like you're going to get any backing or the?
Listen, what I know, again, is I'm the only statewide elected on the Democratic ticket. I'm a longtime Democrat, serving as the chair of the Women's Caucus, serving as the second vice chair of the National Federation of Democratic Women, being a longtime Democrat. I definitely am going to expect some backing. And we're crisscrossing the state, talking to Democrats, doing one election at a time, and hearing from Democrats. And Democrats are excited about this race. Whether I have been up north, across the bridge, or in Detroit, yesterday was on the west side of the state. People are excited about a fighter, someone that they know has proven leadership and has proven to be a fighter in this very pivotal time that we're in the U.S., knowing that they want somebody to go to Washington.
What about the political insiders? Are they trying to get you to drop out?
Hey, you know what? Whether it was when I served as the chief public health advisor in Flint during the most horrific water crisis, or standing up for children there in Detroit, I don't bend to pressure. I don't know that anyone would try that with me. I stand firm for the people, and we are going to Washington to do just that. To be there, to be a fighter for the people, and this is a time where we need that.
And do you have some funding? Where do you stand in terms of funding and backers?
Money.
You can give me funding at pewmichigan.com. It's like puremichigan.com, pewmichigan.com, and chip in and we can talk about funding.
Are you a better candidate than Alyssa Slotkin?
I am the best candidate that's on the ticket. Absolutely. Again, I've been elected statewide. I know how to represent our diverse population, and I've proven that. Go ahead.
What are the issues that make you want to run? Is there anything that stands out?
Yes. Well, what we will focus on, and we're building out our platform as we talk to people again across the state, but really focusing on economic dignity, making sure that people have access to entrepreneurial opportunities, but to good paying jobs where they can go home to their family, have a good quality of life, have access to affordable and quality health care, and retire with dignity. And we know that pathways to that are a good education system, which I've been a fighter for, especially these last 8 years serving on the State Board of Education. Also being involved in climate change.
Go ahead, Joe.
Dr. Pugh, can you tell me what your message is outside the Detroit area? As we know, the majority of people live in this area, but outstate.
Hey, Jim, I think you need to speak closer.
Yeah, I cannot hear. I heard.
Go ahead. Why don't you?
I was asking about your strategy outstate, and if your strategy was resonating with the folks outside of the Detroit area.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm right here in Saginaw, Michigan, and Saginaw is an urban rural mix. I kicked off my campaign in Flint, Michigan. I think that's partially outstate, but definitely have been up north, and will continue to go up north. I was in Muskegon recently, was in Grand Rapids yesterday, Jackson, Michigan last Friday, and really that message that I talked about around economic dignity, it resonates for all Michigan people here in Michigan.
So, do you have a headquarters in Detroit?
We will have a headquarters in Detroit. We will have a headquarters in Flint. We will have a headquarters in Saginaw. We will have one on the west side of the state as well.
So you're looking at the urban area.
I'm looking at the urban areas, but all the areas in between. We have continued to travel north, south, east, and west. So I've been traveling.
Let me ask you this: Are you surprised that Michigan does not have any black representation, at least on the Democratic side, in Congress? I mean, we have John James, a Republican, who's really the only black Congress member here. Is that surprising to you? And is that part of does that make you more determined to be a representative, or?
Sure. As an African American woman, first and foremost, my parents, two sacrificing people, raised me to be twice as better, and that I am. We have qualified people and representation here in this state, and yes, we need that representation to be reflected in Washington, D.C. Absolutely. We know that there have only been two African American women who have served in the Senate since the Senate has existed. And we know that we have qualified women that can serve in that capacity, me being one of those people. So absolutely. And I want to also say that, Carolyn Mosley Brown was from the Midwest, so we know we can do this. I was built on coalition building. I was raised on coalition building.
Don't you think it was unfair that the Whitmer and Stabenow and all these folks got together and they anointed someone like Alyssa Slotkin?
hey, I'm going to be on repeat. I am going to Washington to represent all people, and my qualifications prepare me to be there. And me working day in and day out for the people of this great state, not for political gain, prepare me to go to Washington to represent the people of Michigan.
How do
I'll
they get
serve
in touch with
Pew,
your campaign?
PewMichigan.com, which is a play on PureMichigan.com. Or let me just say this: think of Pure Michigan, but think of Pew Michigan. PUGH Michigan.com.
And we're going to be talking to you in the future. And thanks for coming on at the last minute. I'm
Thank
glad
you.
you answered my email.
Absolutely. Thank you for the invite, and we'll come anytime you invite me.
Okay,
Okay,
Pamela
good luck.
Pugh, Dr.
luck.
Pamela Pugh,
Thank
a
you.
candidate for the U.S. Senate in Michigan. And I thank her for coming on. Yes, that was learned a little bit of what's happening. The party insiders, they want a list of Slockin.
Right.
But I'm surprised that Stabenow did not step aside and say, okay, appoint her, because Whitmer could do that. But I think that if that was done, she would have been under all kind of pressure to appoint Garland Gilchrist, who had looked at the seat, who thought about it. They told him to sit tight or whatever. It's like what they're doing with Dianne Feinstein.
Right.
She won't leave. Stabenow won't leave.
Right.
These folks, they won't leave.
Dianne Feinstein, I don't know if you saw, but they're talking in case she finally decides to step down, they might put Governor Newsom as considered Oprah as an interim in there, which would be kind of fascinating. I don't think Oprah. I think it would really truly be an interim appointment there, but which would be. I think if it was just an interim, I think it would be a lot of fun to see Oprah in the Senate.
Well, but you know what? I'm a guy that watch old movies. Y'all don't remember George Murphy, do you? He used to be a song and dance guy, played in gangster movies. He got elected to the U.S. Senate. You know what? We done had actors. Ronald Reagan? He was a C actor, a D actor, whatever.
Yeah.
So wait a listen.
Look,
Oprah
Arnold
been sitting
Schwarzenegger was governor. What's his name? Jesse, whatever was
the wrestler.
Yeah, was the governor there.
Al Franken.
Yeah, Al Franken.
Al Franken
was a very bright
was.
guy. And I was just reading some comments. Somebody commented online about Al Franken, saying he deserved a punishment, but it was not equal.
He got
to,
executed.
It was not equal to what he had actually done. While you got Donald Trump, elected president after all these allegations popped up.
Let me ask you, Jim. Trenton is a small town compared to big cities and stuff. How do people get elected in those cities? Is it popularity, or somebody say I'm going to run for city council in Trenton? Do you always get the best person, or you get that everybody knows in the community?
You sometimes get the best people, but unfortunately, sometimes it's a popularity contest. And I wanted to say this before we got off. Dr. Pugh brings a refreshing attitude. And what I noticed about Dr. Pugh is she said, I want to serve the residents, and she needs it, right? We need somebody like that. We don't need high grades. Wilbur Franks representing Negus. And we need someone else.
Right, no question. No question.
Yeah.
Well, it comes that time again where we're going to have to say goodbye. Your final thought, Allan Lengel?
My final thoughts, I say check out, the movement action. And if you don't go to the main event, there are a lot of cool events happening around town at different bars and at some homes and stuff like that. I'm not sure exactly where to find out exactly some of the stuff, but I'm sure Metro Times has some of the listings, but some of the bars are doing some very cool stuff. You don't have to go to the main event, but and you can just come in and to Detroit. I mean, we see like at your brother's bar, the Mongos, there's people who come from.
I won't be going there.
Yeah, there are people who come from. I know there's Irish couple that comes every year that comes to the Mongos while they come in for the Movement Festival. So people do come from all around the world for this event.
Your final thoughts, Jim?
My final thought is on the Miles family. Mr. Miles was on here last week, and he lost his son 30 years ago, 1993, to gun violence. Mr. Miles had a comment about how Adolph helped him when they were young men. Put your arm around somebody this holiday weekend and tell them that you care about them. Let's try and stop some of this violence. Only the people out here can do this. The politicians can't do it for you. And finally, I'd like to thank Vanessa for letting me step in for her today. I hope I didn't embarrass her.
Well, and a happy birthday to Vanessa. It's her birthday. And I want to thank Bob Roberts here at McShane's. You know, we trying something different here in Detroit in black and white. We moving around the city, broadcasting from different venues to get to know folks. That's the only way. Take the show on the road, get more people involved, talk about the issues that people are talking about. None of this other silly bullshit that some of these folks throw out as news. We got a veteran journalist here, Allan Lengel, who he did a lot of great stories with the Detroit News and the Washington Post. I'm a former newspaper reporter myself, so I know what's going on. And Jim, 28 years as a cop, and 9 as the police, six. He knows what's happening in the community when you're dealing with violence and stuff. So I just want to thank those folks and Henry, who operates behind the scenes, and Teresa. I like to thank both of them, because it takes more than 1 or 2 people to make this happen. You can see us, hear us on Facebook Live.
Facebook. We have Facebook. It's Facebook for Deadline Detroit, Facebook for Detroit in black and white. We have YouTube. We have 2 YouTube channels. One is Deadline Detroit. The other is Detroit in black and white. And we're trying to grow those channels. Deadline Detroit has a bigger footprint for now, but we're hoping to increase the footprint for Detroit in black and white.
What about our website?
And we are going to have a website in any day now. We've been working on it, and all the podcasts and video casts together. You can either listen to it as a video cast or a podcast. You can also go to iTunes and listen to us or any of your favorite podcasting platforms.
Me and Alan got old, and so we sensitive to all the stuff around us. He liked to be a perfectionist. It's like running a race. You get nervous before the race, but once the race started, there it is. And we're live. Anything can happen in this technology. We're going to try to make it smoother and better, but with the help of folks from all the communities that we're going to be traveling through. Here we come, Detroit in black and white. I want to thank you. We'll see you next week.
All righty.
And have a good weekend and enjoy